Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, May 8th. I'm Herman Green with your midday news. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. The government is this afternoon blasting critics about the reported sale price of the rooms on the beach property in Ocheria, St. Anne. Questions have been raised since the tabling of the rooms report in Parliament on Tuesday, April 30. But as we hear in this report from TVJ's O'Shane Masters, it's not just about the value of the land, but what the country stands to gain from the agreed deal.
We've got to stop this hypocrisy and fooling around with the future of our country.
Industry and Investment Minister Audley Shaw speaking on the controversial rooms on the beach property in Ocheria. Concerns have been raised over the sale price of the property to Porto Caribe Properties Limited. The opposition had been calling for the report, which was done by the former Contractor General Derek Harrison, to be tabled in Parliament. In the rooms report, the former Contractor General noted that the sale of the property, valued at $12.6 million for $7.2 million, was not a value for money. It further suggested that the sale price was an insult to the Jamaican people. But Mr. Shaw insists that the sale of the land is not at a loss. Speaking at a function in Kingston yesterday, he noted that the country stands to reap significant benefits from the sale.
You see that controversy that is supposed to be raging about selling property in Ocheria for $7.2 million instead of $9.2 million or $10 million. That was sold in exchange for a $500 million investment to transform sections of Ocheria and create 7,000 permanent jobs. Can you imagine the stimulation of the economy in Ocheria? And we have people, including the leader of the opposition, calling a press conference yesterday to talk about $2 million difference between what is supposed to be the selling price and what it was sold for.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
A policeman was killed in a brazen attack by two men this morning. He has been identified as Constable Todmar Allen of a Vineyard Town address. He was a member of the Mobile Reserve. Reports are that about 1 o'clock, Constable Allen stopped at a bar on Monique Street in Rollington Town. Two men approached, shot him and fled the scene. The policeman was able to run to the nearby Rollington Town police station and was taken to hospital where he died. The police are now searching for the gunmen. While expressing regret at the incident, the Police Federation has cautioned its members not to be daunted by the rampant acts of violence against them.
Responsible for the killing of our beloved colleague. The Police Federation is sending a strong message this morning that in no way, shape or form we will stand by and allow our decent police officers to be killed in the streets of Jamaica. Next few days, the Police Federation is committing resources to going after these persons who are responsible for the killing of this constable tonight. We are deeply saddened.
Meanwhile, amidst the recent controversy and pending restructuring of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, one attorney is calling for a full-scale approach to reducing crime. She wants the plan to address a number of issues, including the quality and pace of investigations and an appropriate compensation package. For attorney-at-law Valerie Nita Robertson, crime fighting in Jamaica has made a turn for the worse, and that's why crime now seems to be out of control.
This ad hoc method of people just going in the force because they're looking at a job, it's just not good enough, not for fighting crime in Jamaica.
She believes the reason for some members joining the force has resulted in a diminishing standard at all levels, including crime investigations.
We don't have the best, always have the best, the highest standard of competence in terms of investigations. And that is for many reasons. And so you and I were speaking about if you're serious about controlling crime in Jamaica, now is the time for us to have a program to go into the schools and to expose the young people to what it is to be a police officer.
This program, she suggests, should seek to increase patriotism and a sense of pride in young people ahead of recruitment.
And then you send them to a police academy. You may have to give them scholarships. They get become professional persons because they're not only trained in the policing, but also in academics. So they become professional persons with their degrees, and then they transition into the police force. I think you will get the best of Jamaica if you approach it that way, because we do have very, very good police officers serving in the first force now. But if you start now, you can move those people into the force. And of course, because they are professionals now, you have to pay them properly. They deserve to be paid properly.
Valerie Nita Robinson acknowledges that this will require significant resources, but says the investment is critical for any long-term and sustainable crime-fighting system.
So I look forward to some government implementing that program in the interest of our country.
Clinical therapist Dr. Karen Carpenter is asking the government to create a system to monitor pedophiles. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program yesterday, she said, in a society where men should protect women and children, there are too many predators. Dr. Carpenter noted that something should be done to protect young girls.
But we have far too many men who are predators.
Far
too many men who think it's okay to sleep with a child.
It's a disease.
Far too many pedophiles in the society, and they're not being treated.
Yeah.
Simply to arrest the person doesn't help. When they've served their term, they're going to be back out in the society, and it is their predilection. In other words, it is their choice, their preference. They're attracted to.
Recidivism is high. They go right back to it.
They're attracted to children. There's no cure for pedophilia. So we have to take other measures like chemical castration and reprogramming and restrictions and bracelets and monitoring. If we're going to keep pedophiles alive in a society, we've got to monitor them. We've got to put them on a list. We've got to report them.
The clinical therapist is urging persons to report pedophiles to the police.
So one of the arguments we've been hearing lately is, if you report the man, then who takes care of the child?
Yes.
Well, I think you need to report the man. I think the man has to face a penalty, but I think he also has to have treatment, and he has to have social work that allows him to pay.
A stern warning this afternoon from Prime Minister Andrew Holness that he will be doing all that's possible to ensure cases of murder and abuse of children are solved. The Prime Minister made the comments against the background that just recently 2 children were found murdered. 11-year-old Tricia Morris of Woodland in Hanover and 8-year-old Shantae Skyers of Red Hills in St. Andrew.
The Jamaican government does not tolerate this. We don't support this. And with our partner UNICEF here, I wish to give the full assurance that our security forces, our total law enforcement effort, will do everything in our powers to ensure that those who commit these heinous crimes are brought to justice.
He says the time has come to end the socio-cultural issues which affect the country. Mr. Holness pointed to one such notion where men believe that young women possess the remedy for some diseases.
We have an ambivalence in the society that it is okay to touch women, young girls, without their consent. And some believe that children can consent. And some believe, and even some parents encourage, that for financial reasons, it is okay.
The Prime Minister was speaking during the launch of Labor Day activities on Tuesday. Teachers' Day celebrations at the Belmont Park Primary School in Greater Portmore, St. Catherine have been marred by news that a grade 6 teacher was fatally shot early this morning. Police say it happened about 3:15 at Cleon Campbell's home in Westmead.
2 men gained entry to his house. One of the men was armed with a firearm. There was a struggle between the one with the firearm and Mr. Campbell. This resulted in Mr. Campbell receiving gunshot injuries to his body.
He says the police were called about the shooting and took Mr. Campbell to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The police are asking anyone with information to help with their investigations. Meanwhile, the Belmont Park Primary School principal says the Education Ministry has responded quickly to send additional support to help students and staff grieve. He says Mr. Campbell was one of only 3 male teachers at the institution, and despite only joining the institution last September, he embodied what a good teacher should be.
Parents were coming in and have been coming in from morning because he gets along well with many of the parents. So I don't know much about the gift part of it, but I know that he was well supported by many of the parents.
A fire at the St. Jago High School's canteen has forced the institution to suspend classes today. Firefighters were called to the scene sometime after 2 on Tuesday afternoon. The blaze was subdued, but clearance is required by the relevant authorities before reopening. No one was injured. However, one student got a panic attack. Students who are to sit CSEC and CAPE exams are asked to attend school for normal classes. And we go now to a TVJ News follow-up on a story carried on the weekend. The teenager who reportedly set his girlfriend's family house ablaze in Happy Grove, St. Elizabeth, has been charged with burglary and malicious destruction of property. He is 17-year-old Anthony Coke of Happy Grove. TVJ News understands that 2 weeks ago, the boy's 17-year-old girlfriend made a report to the St. Elizabeth police that he stole $60,000 from her home. It's alleged that when he heard that a police report was made against him, he went to his girlfriend's house and set a section of it on fire. 4 occupants who were inside the house at the time, including an 18-month-old child, managed to escape unharmed. The police reportedly found the boy's cell phone at the scene. When the cops left the location, it's believed Mr. Coke returned and smashed a window at the house. His mother has since repaired the window along with other damaged items. And here is a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the health report, we look at antibiotics resistance.
Usually the cases that you will see, for example, maybe in hospitals. So you're going for one thing, maybe you're going for just a regular surgery to remove a mass or some other procedure that is not an emergency. And just by being on the ward, you become exposed to germs that are lingering around. They may be on the curtain, they may be on the bed, and so you become colonized or they get onto you. And if those are resistant to drugs, then they can cause an infection.
That's the health report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Use antibiotics only when your doctor prescribes them. Don't share antibiotics with family members. And when antibiotics are prescribed, complete the entire prescription.
And we go now to news in sports. Jamaica's under-17 Reggae Boys have been eliminated from the CONCACAF Under-17 Championship after a 2-1 loss to El Salvador in the round of 16 stage at the IMG Academy in Florida this morning. The El Salvadorians took the lead on the stroke of halftime through Steven Vasquez. Jorge Flores doubled their lead in the 70th minute before Rajay Wright got the consolation goal for Jamaica in the 82nd minute. This is the first time Jamaica has lost to El Salvador at a CONCACAF Under-17 tournament since 2001. With this defeat, Jamaica also missed out on qualification to the Under-17 FIFA World Cup in Brazil later this year. And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Please join us at 7 for the Primetime News package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.